definition of tango. It should be sharp, should be crisp, should be definite, right? So I need you to imagine that my room is the ring, right? So that window and my screen are short walls, and these two walls are long walls. So the dance starts somewhere between the red and the blue line. So closer to the red or closer to the blue, depending on how much speed you have, right? So the first outside edge into coming up into the cross and then feet together. There are several ways of doing it, right? I like to teach to come up, stay up on the cross, and then rebend only when your feet come together. Now, as far as the first outside edge goes, when you step onto your right outside edge, you want to be facing the circle. Then you come up, keeping that position, and then you release the twist with a cross, and then you transfer to the other side when your feet come together. So let's just do that. I'm going to be facing away from you. So we're going to pretend that our curves are right here. So it's going to be one curve for the right foot, and that's going to be the other curve for the left foot. We're going to be facing that curve. So we're going to pre-bend over our left foot. Our arm's going to stay parallel with the floor. We're going to push and step onto the right leg. Then we're going to come up, keeping that position. And then as we cross, we're going to bring our shoulders and hips to the same line. And as we uncross and bring our feet together, we're going to transfer to the other side, which is our new circle. And then we're going to step facing that circle. Then we're going to come up, keeping that twist in our upper body. And then as we cross, we're going to untwist. And as we bring our feet together, we're going to twist again. Not bad. So let's talk about it a little more. So the backward outside edges, we want to be in control of that curve. And as we come up, that's the hardest part of the curve. The hardest part of the curve is when we come up and we have to make that curve shallower before the cross. So we have to control our blade somehow. Being twisted into the circle, it's the easiest way to control our blade, because then that twist helps the rest of me to control my blade. So I push and I lean into the circle, being twisted over that circle. And then I'm gonna come up, keeping the twist, but I'm gonna release the lean so my blade goes on a flatter line. And then I cross into the square position. And then I bring my feet together and I transfer to the other side. So again, I push and I lean. Then I'm gonna come up, keeping the twist, but releasing the lean. And then I bring my shoulders to my hips line when I cross, and then I transfer to the other side. Now, your free leg position. If we do that, if we turn our leg out, our upper body wants to follow that hip. So our hip drops when we turn our leg out. Our upper body has a tendency to lean towards that side. If we are on that curve, it's going to be very hard to complete that curve without losing our balance or losing our edge. So that's why when I push off on the inside edge, and when my foot leaves the floor, it stays parallel with my standing leg foot. So my free leg hip is slightly higher than my standing leg, allowing me to keep that lean in place. Okay, so that's gonna move my upper body towards the outside of the circle. That's gonna help me to stay over the circle. So let's do one more time. Let's focus on the twist and the lean. And additionally, let's focus on the shape of that leg when it leaves the floor. And we figure out the position now, crossing part. So you came up, your feet are parallel, you're standing on one foot. You bring your foot back, you wrap your ankle around with that foot, you slide it down, you pick the other foot up through the bend of your knee. And then you put that foot down, picking the other one up and rebending your knees, preparing for the next step. So down, up, 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 down. Okay, so one more time. Down, up. As we cross, we come up. Then we put our foot down, we bring our feet together, and then we rebend. All right, so now let's go from the beginning of the dance. We're gonna do our 3 edges with a cross. Then we're gonna do the third one. We're gonna cross in front, we're gonna step forward, and we're gonna stop right here. Then we're gonna talk about it. So I'm gonna be going this way away from the camera towards my window. So that's your short wall. That's my short wall, okay? And you just copy me, so you know we won't have to mirror me. So my first curve is on my right. So I'm gonna prepare for that edge, twist it to the right. I'm gonna push onto my right outside edge. I'm gonna finish the curve, so I move away from the wall. I'm gonna come up, keeping the twist. I'm gonna cross, I'm gonna release the twist, and I'm gonna bring my feet together, and I'm gonna twist to the left, because that's where my next curve is, to the left. I finish the curve, I come up, keeping the twist. As I cross, I release the twist. As I bring my feet together, I twist to the right again, because my next edge is my right outside edge. I finished my outside, I came up. Now I'm gonna cross, keeping that twist. Now when you step forward, roll to your right side for the next step. Now, why do I want you to roll to your right side and not bring your left side in front? So let's say you have a lot of speed and you covered a lot of space. You climbed almost to the center of the ice on the backward outside edge. And when you step forward, you're pretty much just about to cross the middle line. So you have so much speed and so much ice coverage, which is great. Now you need to be very sharp with the next part of your dance for two reasons. Number one, you can't cross the middle line. Number two, you have to come back to the wall, right? Before you start doing your crosses forward. So the easiest way to be attacking the space inside of the circle with a deep edge is by facing away from the circle and locking your upper body in this position, allowing it to lean inside of the circle. So it pulls your blade, forcing it to be on a deep outside edge. And in order for you to be able to lock your upper body in this position, you want to pull your back arm shoulder blade, which is your left hand, left shoulder blade, across your back to the opposite hip, and keeping your right arm slightly outside of your upper body space. Then looking over your right shoulder, leaning to the right. Finishing the push, extending your leg and turning your hip out, which is going to put you on a very nice and deep outside edge. Then keeping that same position with the upper body, you finish your cross, staying down in this place, in this instance, and then you push onto an outside edge, keeping the twist again. Then you come up, keeping the twist, and then you cross, keeping the twist as well. Because for the next stage, you want to dive inside of the circle. Why there is a difference between the first one when we face out and between the second one when we face in? So for the first one, we come from the backward outside edge. So if I were to bring this side forward, I'm going to lean outside of the circle, just simply because of that nature of that move. And then my blade won't be as efficient with the depth, with its curved depth, than if I would be leaning into the circle, right? So it's going to be very hard for me to come in and lean into the circle from backwards to forward. So it's much easier just to step to this arm, which is going to force me to stay leaning, facing outside of the circle. When I get to that part though, and I did my cross, I'm going from forward outside to the forward outside. So I can just lean and twist into the circle with the opposite hand in front in relation to my left. So whenever we step from backwards to forward, we want to go to the same arm in front as your leg. And when you step from forward to forward from one curve onto the other, you want to go to the opposite, increasing the twist and throwing yourself into the circle. Now, next part, cross throw is followed by the three turn. Actually, let's talk about that left outside edge. There are two ways executing that edge. You can stay down for 4 counts, or you can stay down and then come up for 2 counts. I like to stay down because then I can be a little more aggressive with the crossover. But some people want to come up to emphasize the Tango character, which is also good. So if you want to stay down, it's going to give you a little more power into the cross throw. If you're going to decide to come up, it's going to define your Tango a little more. Let's say you came up at the end of that outside edge. You want to rebend into the cross throw ball, because that cross throw if your outside edge took you away from the wall, that cross roll gonna start bringing you back to the wall. So let's say I'm all the way by blue line. I do the cross roll, I change the lean, I need to come up into the 3-turn, turn through the 3-turn, and then using the swing roll, get back to the wall. So that first push, that cross roll going from an outside onto an outside is essential to the rest of the sequence, which is gonna bring me back to the wall if I execute it properly. So we finished our outside edge. Now, as our leg bends into the cross roll, we want to change the twist going onto the new circle. Remember, forward outside edge is connected. We can change the twist. So we stay here. Then as we bend our knee, we start changing the twist. We push forward, our leg gets out. Then we come up. We turn, keeping our arms with the circle. Now, as we push, we're gonna start opening our arms up, and then we swing completely open to the outside of the circle or to our right side. When you swing, when your leg goes back, we wanna be on an outside edge. It's an outside swing roll. So we do not wanna show the clear change of edge, right? We wanna make sure that our blade stays on the visibly recognizable outside edge. Your upper body opening up gonna facilitate that. However, if your leg goes to the side, your blade will flip onto an inside, regardless to whether your upper body is open or not. So how do we keep that blade on an outside edge? We want to open up our upper body, and then we want to make sure that our foot, when it travels through, it goes through the standing leg and it stays behind our heel. So your free leg foot has to show where your skating leg needs to go. So my leg points at where I want my foot to go. So I turn my leg out, I open up my hip, and I make sure that the middle of my foot stays right over my future tracing. So where I want my blade to be in half a second, that's where my foot has to place itself after the swing. With the other words, instead of sending your leg to the side, send it back. However, you wanna turn your leg out so your hip is up, so your foot doesn't go all the way across your tracing to the other side, which is gonna throw you into an inside edge as well. So here, right here, right behind your heel, turn down. Then you need to bring your feet back together so you can push onto the next step. We do not want to just step. That's a passive step. First of all, it's a wide step, which we don't want. Secondly, it's a passive step. It doesn't create any power. The only time we can create power, it's when we push from our standing leg. So we want to bring our feet together and then push. The next 4 steps are crossovers, but you start them from the second step, right? So your first step of your crossover is actually the second step of the crossover. So we took 2 crossovers and started them from the middle. And the first 2 steps are quick, and the second 2 steps are slower. So 1 count per step on first 2, and then 2 counts per step on second 2. As a result, we cannot extend our leg when we step into that first right inside edge. We just won't have time to bring our feet together. So as we finished our swing and prepared for the push, we push and bring our feet together right away, getting ready for the next step. Trying to jump over something and then get ready for the next jump so your feet are together for that. The next part, your 2 crossovers, you're on the circle. If you're with the partner, you don't have a choice, you have your right hand in front, postural position. If you're by yourself, you have a choice, but you still want to have your right arm in front, because as if we were talking about it previously, this is the very good position to attack the space in front of you, the space inside of the circle. And because you're stepping from an outside onto an inside, outside backwards to the forward inside, it gives you that opportunity to switch the twist. It's not like when we were going from the backward outside onto the forward outside, staying on the same curve, right? Here, we go from an outside onto an inside, two different curves. So it gives me the opportunity to get straight into the circle. So you want to make sure that you emphasize that position and increase the twist and the lean into the circle as much as possible, skating away from the wall. Now you step onto your right outside edge. You have the same arm as your standing leg in front. As you come up through that swing, you want to increase the twist. So you want to twist a little further, and then you want to release the twist as your foot gets into the mohawk, preparing for the push. Now remember, mohawk, it's not only outside to an outside, but it's also the placement of your foot. That's what defines the mohawk. So twisting gonna help you, and leaning gonna help you to get into an outside edge. But then in order for you to get outside edge out of the mohawk, you need to bring your foot to the middle. You need to bring your middle of your foot to your heel, start twisting to the other side, and then push off that right onto the left outside, and then keep opening up as you bring your leg through. Same thing as we do on the swing roll after the cross roll, forcing that blade to stay on an outside edge. So we want to open up, and we want to keep our foot right behind our heel. That's what's going to keep our blade on the steady outside.